Hello everybody, this is Kirisho here. Now then, I am done with work for today. So I'm going to be posting this, and then I will be hanging out before going to bed. Now then, whenever we last left off, Todoroki had just had a conversation with Deku. That was very different from canon. Now, Deku, he would step into the ring. He is fighting against Shinsho. And well, this is where things get a bit tricky. Deku would ask the Ghost Rider the Spirit of Vengeance, exactly how much heat can he put into his fire without it being lethal, and or harmful to the human body. To which the writer would just say that he doesn't know. Humans are such frail creatures. Besides, the heat he could emit could scorch even the strongest demon. So it does not matter. Now, Deku would tell him that that's fine. He just needs him to increase his heat by a little bit. Let's say 10%. 10% really, kid? Alright, fine. Just let me turn up the heat a little bit, just so I know what to do. Or at least let me in control of that. As Vengeance would just tell Deku that that's fine. Let's see how you fuck this up. Oh, haha. No. Shinsho, he's just confused. The match has already begun, but Deku has not walked towards him. No. This is whenever Shinsho would just begin by saying that, So, you're the Ghost Rider. Well, I never would have expected that. Then again, no one else would expect a kid. As Deku just stared at him for a second. He would go to open his mouth, but he just doesn't feel like he needs to, as he just begins to transform. Shinsho being in shock, as he can see very closely exactly how Deku is transforming. He can see the flesh melting away along with the muscle and the nerves. It's actually very horrifying to see up close, especially because Deku, he doesn't transform fast or instantly. He goes through that small painful process. Now then, he would just start walking towards Shinsho. As he lets not his fire, he lets the heat burn off him. As each step he takes leaves behind a little bit of, fire, and is actually making him sink into the ring a little bit. Shinsho being in horror, not even knowing what to say. As he just shouts at Deku that, "What, you're not gonna say anything? Class 1A, you guys are all idiots. You want to just keep up on your high horse." As he begin further and further and further, until Deku is just standing in front of him, looking a bit down on him. Deku is taller, but Shinsho's not even know what to say. He's just staring up at the Ghost Rider, and this man's murdered people. This man's killed people. He is known as that name for a reason. He's not even sure what to say or do, as he just would take somewhat of a step forward. The rider immediately just moving his head as the heat increases more. Now, Shinsho, he would try and grab onto Deku's collar and try and just screaming at him more. As Deku would just bring his arm up, elbowing Shinsho in the face, sending him flying out of the ring and into a wall. As he would just say that, you're not wrong, but you really need to work on who you have on your teams. What? Yeah, Ojiro. He told me a bit about your quirk. I listened to him. Useful information. You could have actually taken me if you knew anything about me. Well, I'll get you next time, Ryder. Yeah, everyone says that. As Deku would walk away. Now, Sero versus Todoroki. Or Todoroki versus Sero. This fight goes exactly the same, with Todoroki actually using a lot more ice. As we'll skip over to Ibarra versus Kaminari. I want to say this fight would also go the same, but Kaminari, I want to say, since he's seen the Ghost Rider and different ways he's seen him move and try and do things, he would at least be able to dodge the first attack before trying to send off a piece of electricity. Try not to fry himself, but at least somewhat tagging Ibarra in the arm. Before she does, just lash him and get him with some vines, as he would be immobilized, but not fried. Now then, Mei versus Ida. The fight would go similarly to Canon, but Mei, she actually does want to win this, or at least get further and further to see exactly what can Deku do to her tech. She's seen that guy do something crazy to her baby, and well, whenever he did it, it seemed to increase how much longer it can run, because as soon as she tried using it on this battle, the jetpack basically set out a large burst, sending her up into the air, as she would have come smashing back down into the ring, getting up a bit confused. Now then, this is where Ida, he would have been able to try and move around with this weird gear on that Mei is using to promote herself, or, well, the support course. And, well, Mei would just finally let Ida go, as Ida would just fall out of the ring. She just thinks that if the jetpack, it didn't work this time, and, well, that gear didn't work, well, she's going to try and think of another thing, as she somewhat begins to mutter to herself. Now then, you have... Now, the next match will be Mina versus Toru, as both of these girls would walk onto the ring. First, I might just comment on how that Toru Hakakure quirk, well, this doesn't seem right. I assure you, Mike, it is correct. Recently, that girl has gained control over her quirk, and shown significant signs of improvement. Alright, I'll just get on with it then. Toru Hakakure, quirk, invisibility, and enhancement. Mina Ashido, quirk, acid. Now, this fight would begin as Mina, she's seen Deku up close using his quirk, as he calls it, and well, she is a bit ready. She's somewhat like the Ghost Rider since he seems very cool. And she's been trying to keep an eye on his moves, since she does try practicing practicing controlling her acid with his style of movement. It is a bit more efficient than her regular style, but she does prefer her regular style. It's more comfortable, but she's trying to get more serious. Now, Toru, she is ready, as she would immediately just take off her jacket, and she would begin stretching. Now then, these two would be facing off, as you have Invisible Girl, as people nicknamed her, versus Pinky. Now, Toru would immediately rush forward, as people watch her bring her hands behind her back and get ready. As whenever she does get close enough, she immediately smashes her hand into the ground and throws out her hands, clapping, as Mina is sliding around the ring. She actually did slide and actually somewhat push off with her feet, as her acid through her shoes, allowing her to slide on the ring. Now, this is where Toru, she would begin to chase Mina around as Mina tries throwing as much acid at her as possible. Toru immediately takes a notice to these moves, noticing that she is leaving this spot open along with this other spot, as she would immediately rush in and actually have a bit of a harder time dodging her acid. She has seen Deku's moves before, and training with him for 2 weeks, she's seen how much progress he's made, since he's able to cover both of those weak spots. Now, this is where Toru, she would have gotten close enough and actually just punched Mina as hard as possible, at 30%, sending her flying up into the air. As Toru would immediately just run after her, Mina trying to get steady. She blows as much acid out of her hands as possible, and she doesn't have it at lethality, but this at least is enough to push her over the rink. So she'll just fall toward the edge. But Toru, she would immediately come up, smashing her in the side and grabbing her and slamming her down to the ground, as these two land outside the rink. Mina hit the ground first, and Toru was on top of her. As Toru, she would get back up, asking Mina if she's okay. She's sorry about that, but after she noticed she was using Deku's technique, she kind of got a bit more aggressive. I'm sorry. As Mina doesn't get back up. Toru asks if she's okay, and she would just say, "I'm not sure. I think you broke my ribs." As Recovery Girl would come over and check to see the damage. Toru did break a couple of her ribs, but it's nothing Recovery Girl can't heal, as Toru would be apologizing very much. Now, the next match. Momo versus Tokoyami. This match goes exactly like in canon, Tokoyami being able to force Momo out of the ring. Now, Tetsu versus Kirishima. Kirishima, he has seen the writer before, and has actually had a deep admiration. He does the job without seeking, fame or glory. And he punishes the innocent. He punishes the innocent. He punishes the guilty and leaves the innocent alive. Now, he also does jump headfirst into a dangerous situation. Another reason to admire him, since he puts his own danger above everyone else's safety. Now, I want to say he would have trained a little bit more in this timeline, so that will give him the edge over Tetsu. Now then, they still would have somewhat clashed, but Kirishima would have been able to stay on his feet, actually slamming him into the ground and taking down Tetsu. Now, Bakugo versus Oshako. Bakugo, he is a bit more cocky in this timeline, but, that's to be expected. He has trained his quirk and everything, but he's just saw himself as a prodigy, so he didn't really train anywhere around and above what he did in canon. The matches still go the same though, with Bakugo winning and Ochako losing. Now then, Todoroki versus Deku. These two would walk up onto the ring, as the rider would take over and people would just see the flaming skull inside the UA Sports Festival uniform, as they're waiting. Now, Deku, he would just smell something, as he looks inside the stands. In the corner of his eye, he can see Endeavor. As soon as the match would begin, Deku, he immediately brings his hand upwards. Except whenever he brings it up towards Todoroki, Todoroki would have been ready, as Deku's hand would move further and immediately point towards Endeavor, as he would just say guilty. Endeavor would just be wondering one simple thing. Why can't I taste fear? Anyways, no. The look on Endeavor's face is enough to somewhat bring the heroes, since they're all just staring at Deku, and just looking back at Endeavor. Now, This is whenever the rider would just immediately just face towards Todoroki, as he would just pop his knuckles and take a step forward. As soon as that step is taken, Todoroki would blast ice straight at him. As Deku, he immediately slams his hand upwards, sending the ice, redirecting it straight up into the sky. As Todoroki could just watch it climb higher and higher, stopping and watching as it begins to somewhat melt, which is a bit confusing. He didn't expect it to melt as fast. While that's happening, he begins to make his way around the ring, trying to find the rider. Now, that is whenever Deku, he would just tell the Ghost Rider to allow him access to most of the power he has. Or at least all the power you're gonna allow, well, the power I'm at from training. What my body can handle, please give me access to. The rider, seeing that Deku's a little bit more ballsy. Well, it's gonna be your soul, kid, in your mind. What do you mean? Kid, this power does come at a cost. Until you can, until I allow you, you can't go further. Besides, you need my help. Whenever you gain control, or at least my trust, that's where I'll let you go unrestrained with my power. Till now, if you try and force it, you will go crazy. And your soul will burn. How exactly will my soul burn if I'm connected to you? You're flying too close to the sun. I have no idea what that means. As Todoroki would blast more ice straight at Deku, the rider would have immediately turned around, throwing his hand outwards, smashing the ice, and people would just watch as a large shockwave forms. This shocked everyone, as they just see the rider standing there with a flaming fist. All the ice that Deku was in and covered in, well, it's all melted away, him being at the direct center of the ring. His hand is outstretched as he just looks towards Todoroki, who is at the edge of the ring and actually is keeping his balance on a ice pillar, as he would just bring his body up and immediately just look at Deku. He just keeps blasting ice after ice after ice, and wave after wave just getting rejected and thrown around. Deku sometimes redirects them up in the air, to the left, to the right, or just straight up just walking through them while they burn into water around him, and turn into steam. Deku would get annoyed to say that this is a firefight. Use your power. To which Todoroki would just say he's not. Really? Is that why you're shaking? As Todoroki looks down at his hand, it's completely covered in frostbite. He had just now noticed he's very warm, and his hand won't stop twitching. You're going into hypothermia, or hypothermic shock. You feel warm, but you're not. And as Todoroki's eyes would just widen, he knows exactly what's going on with him. To which Deku would just say, use your quirk. Or do I have to use the penance stare to draw that trauma out of you and see it? It doesn't always kill. It doesn't even have to be lethal. It's just if your soul's too corrupt, it'll burn away and chip you away, piece by bloody piece. As people can hear that, this stare that the writer leaves on people depends on them, not him. It doesn't need to be lethal. As Deku would just activate the penance stare, everyone in the ring immediately just looking away, hearing that it can have consequences, as the cameras somewhat turn off. They're just not facing the ring. Everyone can see the wall as Deku, he uses it to see Todoroki's trauma. He sees exactly how Endeavor has treated him over the years, and exactly how he got his scar. As that happens, the writer, he would just allow Todoroki to have somewhat of a bit of peace. Deku doing one thing. He would immediately rush towards Todoroki as he would uppercut him. Todoroki would be a bit confused, he's not even sure what just happened. Before he could react, he would just come down, blasting fire at Deku. This was more out of reaction than genuine, wanting to. Whatever just happened, he just felt a burn on his face, and he needs to get this over with fast. As Todoroki tried fighting with Deku. Deku, using the actual fire from the Ghost Rider, would begin by scorching the ring. They are basically turning it into putty and, goo, and scorching the grass and earth around them. This entire ring and the entire stadium is basically a sauna at this point. No one can see through any sort of glasses they have. President Mike can't even comment on the match, and there are now clouds in the sky. And Todoroki would finally be taken down, as the smoke would clear. Deku, he's standing in the ring as he is victorious. And Todoroki is out. Whenever Recover Girl comes over to see him, however, she finds that this boy is completely healed. And she means completely. As whenever Todoroki gets up and shakes away Deku's punch, or his latest one at least, he would find that the scar tissue around his face has actually still healed. As he runs over looking into a mirror, seeing exactly what Deku did to him. He would just turn in shock as he would begin to shout at Deku, but the writer would just do one thing. He would just say, "Make peace with her," as Todoroki's eyes would widen. As the writer would just step off stage. Now, Ibarra versus Mei. This match is a bit trickier, since as soon as it begins, Mei, she would try using, I want to say a gadget. The weirdest one I can think of is basically like a giant propeller. Or probably I don't even know why, like a pocket flamethrower or something. She would try using gadgets and machines against Ibarra, but that would not work. Eventually, she would be restrained and taken down. As we will go over to the next match. Toru versus Tokoyami. This match is weird, to say the least. Toru, she is ready. As these two these two opponents, they wouldn't get into the ring. Now, these two, they would get in the ring. As Tokoyami is ready for whatever Invisible Girl can throw at him. As the match will begin, Toru immediately just smashes down her feet onto the ring as large rocks would come up. She immediately throws her legs outwards, kicking them straight for Tokoyami, as he begins to run out of the way, or at least use Dark Shadow to dodge them, and to block. As that happens, Toru does one small thing. She begins smashing plates and different parts of the arena as she's picking them up. As that happens, she is holding them as she begins to toss them, saying that it's just like plate tossing, as Deku would somewhat laugh. People are just staring at him as he knows that joke, but not a lot of people do. Now, while that's happening, she would begin. She begins to juggle different types of rocks as she randomly just throws one and actually attacks Tokoyami with it, using these tricks against him. Anything she's learned at the carnival, she uses. She used to be in a lot of different events, but usually she got stuck as the clown. So she tried practicing these in the background. Until one day, she was told they were going to be leaving. She stopped, but, well, these are useful tactics for battle. They're silly and unpredictable. Along with a powerful quirk, you have quite a weird hero. Since you're unpredictable, uncanny, unique, and, well, hard to predict exactly what she wants. Darkshadow would usually try and predict for one certain rock, and he would be wrong, as usually she would fire two, eventually taking him down. Now then, Kirishima versus Bakugo. I want to say that Kirishima, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he would win, since his defense would be stronger. Bakugo, he would be around canon. I say around because he could be a little bit stronger, but he could also be a bit weaker because he primarily uses his explosives against Deku. So I want to say he's a little bit less than canon Bakugo, at least 1 to 2%. So not very much with the quirk terms. Same physicality, same mentality. However, Kirishima, he's a bit stronger. Now, Kirishima, I want to give the win. And we will cut over to the final match, or well, the semifinals. Ibarra versus the Ghost Rider. She is freaking out. Realizing that her quirk, she is not going to win. Now, as soon as the match begins, this is where people would just say that this is just unfair. Oh please, you're telling me she has to do this, dude. Now, as soon as that happens, Deku can see the nervousness on her face, as he does one simple thing. He reverts back from the Ghost Rider form, as she looks a bit confused. He would just say that you're in luck. Listen, I get that could take you down in 2 to 3 seconds, but, well, this festival is about trying your best, so give it a shot. As President Mike would just say go. As soon as that happens, Ibarra, she would begin to attack, as Deku goes to dodge. She was aiming for his legs as Deku, he immediately started doing a cartwheel, and it was on his hand whenever she tried hitting him. Now then, he would do this as Toru, she somewhat begins to laugh too. She hasn't seen Deku try doing that since they were younger. People are still confused at this, until they watch Deku do one thing. As he would have brought his hands up to his head and begin to just wave around his tongue, somewhat mocking her. As they've seen that at a carnival. Wait a minute, those are all carnival tricks. As President Mike is commenting on how the Ghost Rider, as they call him, seems to be silly now. As Ibarra, she would have finally got annoyed, blasting around as many leaves and, well, vines as possible. Leaves. Vines, only vines. My bad. I am too tired. Now, as she would have done that, Deku, he's able to dodge and actually get around all of them, as he would have gotten close enough to actually grab her, and he would have grabbed her by the hair, as he would have grabbed it with both hands, pulling off what vines he needed to, while leaving her hair intact, albeit a little bit longer than in canon, as he would have immediately pinned her to the ground, while holding her hair upwards toward the sky, saying that he won. To which she would just be a bit confused. How did you... Your quirk's based on your hair. Besides, it wasn't really that hard to predict. I've been watching your match. Remember? Oh, crap. Yeah. If you tried doing that surprise attack against me in here, then you probably would have got me. But you can't use the same trick twice. Now, Toru versus Kirishima. This fight, you already know how it would go. She would power herself up to 10%, as she thinks that will work. She would fight against Kirishima as he is actually able to block and somewhat stay up or on his feet. Now, while that's happening, Deku, he's just watching this happen as Kirishima, he's actually able to stay on his feet for long enough to take a blow. As soon as he takes around as soon as he takes to somewhere around the 5th to 6th punch, this is where his defense would weaken, and she would actually break through his cork. As that happens, Deku would just watch as Kirishima gets sent flying towards the edge of the ring. Toru actually rushing in and watching as Kirishima hardens his arms as much as possible. She would have smashed into his arm with about 25% of one for all, as she broke through his cork and broke his arm, sending him flying out of the ring and into a wall. Now then, as that happens, this is where it would be announced that the final match is set. Toru Hakakure versus Izuku Midoriya. Now, this is where these two would get into the ring, as they would face off. Deku, he would just take off his he would just take off his jacket and throw it to the side, as he has a black tank top underneath. He gets ready, as people watch him actually somewhat stretch, and immediately just turn on his quirk. He turns into the Ghost Rider, as people see that there's still a skeleton under there, it's just heavily coated in fire. That may be his skin? It's a bit confusing to them. But they're not going to get into it. No. Deku would just ask the rider for full access to what he can. The rider would just say that this will be interesting. So, your potential and her potential. What power you've made your own against what power she's made her own. This will be great. Now, people would watch as these two, they immediately just move forward, clashing and actually getting somewhat a grip on each other. Deku caught Toru's hand as it sent a small shockwave throughout the arena, and actually did freak a bit of people out. Toru, she's at 25%, so the strain on her body will be not too bad. So, she begins by immediately just bringing her leg up, trying to knee Deku in the face. Deku would begin dodging as people would start watching these two fights. It's a bit more elegant than they thought. These two, they seem to know each other's movements already. Clearly, they have trained together. So, this is where Toru, she would show off more of her tricks, as Deku would be able to dodge them and somewhat throw his own tricks at her. As they would watch as a chain would come out of nowhere, seemingly out of Deku's hands. As Aizawa, he would see this just thinking that is weird. Aizawa, is that part of the boy's quirk? Well, apparently so. I just thought he had that chain as a support item. Now, as that happens, the chains would immediately begin to throw themselves around the ring, basically creating a giant cage match, as he's limited Toru's movement somewhat. These two would begin jumping around. These chains are basically just suspended in the air by nothing. That's crazy. They're trying to look through as they can see Deku and Toru moving. Anytime either of the two touch the chain, it doesn't even flinch or even bend. It seems like it's just constant stress keeping those things afloat. Now, while that's happening, inside, Deku, he is on the offensive, as he's just thinking that he needs to take her down. He would have gotten close enough and he would have actually lost her, as soon as he thought he found her, she may have just played a little trick, using her invisibility against him, as you can say, as she actually would kick Deku in the face whenever he can't find her or see her. So she's turned invisible. Now, Deku, he is confused. He would be able to hear the electricity as he would immediately turn his hand, countering Toru, somewhat chopping her and actually getting her in the side of the arm, as she would get sent flying. Now, Toru would realize that it's somewhat not easy doing this, so she needs to get things ready for her next attack. As Deku, he tries to get to a high point, or at least somewhere above the chains, so he can look down and see where she is. Now, she is visible this time, as a sneak attack will not work now. So she needs to bring out more power, pumping herself up to 35. She feels immense strain here, as she would have actually thrown a kick directly in Deku's side. Deku somewhat moving and actually flinching, as she somewhat saw pain on the rider's face. As Deku, he would have cocked back his arm and immediately throw it forward directly at her, as she would try dodging. Now, she would have tried using her other leg, as she would immediately just try wrapping around Deku's arm, forcing him to the ground. As Deku would be falling, he would be able to somewhat turn out his arm, or at least take it out of the joint, as he's able to slip it through and actually get on top of Toru, slamming her body into the ring, as the chains would begin dispersing. People would be looking through, as it is easier to see. Whenever Deku's chains started appearing, they started getting somewhat coated in a black substance. So it was getting harder and harder to see. Now then, Toru should have gotten up, as Deku would have done the same. Deku, he's somewhat panting and actually really tired. The mental strain he's been putting on his body is not good, as he can feel Zarathos knocking at the door. The rider, he's able to keep him off, however, but if he pushes himself to this point even further, he may release him by accident. So he has to end this quickly. Now, as soon as he would turn, he would just see that Toru, she is having a bit of trouble with something. One of her legs and her arms is coated in this weird substance, as it begins to somewhat freak out. Deku would just watch on in shock, as he would immediately begin dodging it, as it would actually just stab through one of his arms and one of his legs. As people were watching it, it would immediately lift Deku in the air, as it starts just throwing random spikes and jags directly through him. Deku, the Ghost Rider basically being turned into a human pincushion, as Deku would just look up into the air. Toru, she begins to freak out and somewhat cry, as she tries to calm down. They would have tried calling off the match, but Deku, he would have been able to grab some of these and actually rip them and tear them out of his body, as he would fall into the ring. He was not ready for that attack. He was just trying to, keep himself at a low level and raise his mental instability higher so that he can attack. Basically just staying at lower intervals and rapidly boosting upwards. So that actually did surprise him, as Toru just watched the Ghost Rider somewhat puke up a bit of magma. It's actually just blood, but it's just so coated in hellfire it looks not right. As Deku would stand back up. It looks like she may have broken and bruised a couple bones, but they can't even tell. To where Deku just raises his hands and gets ready, as these two would rush forward. Toru tries using this new quirk, as you can say, to her advantage. However, Deku would have gotten lucky, as he would have been able to throw the chains outwards and wrap up Toru, as this quirk tries to crawl along his chains. However, he is able to somewhat burn it away, by just raising the fire to higher temperatures. Not to hellfire levels, but high enough, making the quirk somewhat retract, as Deku's basically just standing there with her in the air, as he's actually on one of his knees. Now, as he's declared the winner, he would drop her as he would immediately just de-transform, actually panting really heavily. People watching as the holes in his uniform, they're still there, but there is no wounds. So, what exactly had just happened? Now, Deku would just walk over to Toru, as she would just somewhat be laughing a bit. Deku would just see that as he would just hold out a hand, getting her up and immediately having Toru pull him in for a kiss, which shocked everyone. Class 1, I didn't know that they were a couple, so that kind of explains it a bit better. Now, that is going to be where I leave this part off, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.